Welcome back to New York. How special was it to celebrate your gold medal out there during Kids Day? And tell us a little bit about your last 3 weeks since the historical win in Paris.
Yeah, it's great to be back in New York. Hello, everyone. It was a very nice moment, obviously, that I was allowed to experience by the USTA and US Open an hour ago at the Arthur Ashe Kids Day. A great tribute video and obviously some fun with hitting the targets in the end and just kind of sharing my thoughts, my emotions and experiences of reflection on what is for me, I think now when I look back, the greatest achievement and the greatest highlight of my career overall, winning the gold for Serbia. Had some heartbreaking losses at the Olympic Games. Worked very hard to try to get myself in a position to fight for gold. And at 37, I thought, I don't know, could this be the last chance? Maybe. So I had to push more than ever that I have ever done. And turned out to be one of the best performances I had in years overall throughout the entire tournament. And then, of course, in the finals against Carlos. It was a kind of a dream scenario, really, having my wife and children there, the entire nation watching. Just a very proud moment of experiencing the golden medal, around my neck with the Serbian anthem and Serbian flag. Very, very special and probably the most intense emotions I've ever had on a tennis court. I was saying that carrying the flag, being a flag bearer for my country in opening games in 2012 in London at the Olympic Games was the best feeling I had overall in my professional career. Surpassed every slam that I won until I won the gold medal, and that was just, I think, the moment of when I achieved it, how I achieved it. After years of trying and the journey that was the way it was, I think makes it even more unique.
English question, please introduce yourself.
Hi, Novak. Antonio for l'équipe. The first time you came in New York is 2003 for a junior tournament. I would like to know which memories do you keep from the first time you discovered the city, and how did you enjoy the New York at 16 years old?
I do remember that I did not play a US Open junior match outdoors. We did play indoors because it was raining, so we had to travel by bus to a different facility to play. So I didn't really experience the US Open at that point in time. But as soon after I played my first main draw as a professional player, and I had a couple of great matches and some marathon matches with Gael Monfils, I remember, and Mario Ancic, and if I'm not mistaken, my first US Open as a pro. So it was amazing to be part of the Grand Slam and play on the outside courts. Just very different to the stadium court. And I remember the first time I played at the Ashe Stadium, it was overwhelming, for a young player. So it's been quite a journey. Really grateful for everything that I experienced since then.
Novak, Vinay for Inside Tennis. So since 2008, you first competed in the Olympics. You came all the way to 2024 to win your first gold. There's been a weird stat at the US Open that no man has defended the US Open title since 2008. So what do you need to do differently this year as defending champion to change the stat?
Try to win the title. I think for starters, I didn't know about that. I knew that, it was probably the case for 5-10 years, but I didn't know it was that long. So, hopefully that changes this year. I mean, that's the goal. The goal is always for me to try to go all the way to the finals and fight for the trophy. I mean, that kind of mindset or approach is no different for me this year. People would ask me, now that, you've basically won everything with the golden medal. What is else there to win? And I still feel the drive. I still have the competitive spirit. Still want to make more history and enjoy myself on the tour. I still hope to inspire many young people to watch tennis or play tennis. Those are some of the reasons why I still keep on going. And Grand Slams are the pillars of our sport. They're the most important historical tennis events that we have. So if you don't get pumped and inspired to play your best tennis in Grand Slams, it's hard to do that anywhere else. And US Open is a slam that holds the biggest tennis court in the world, tennis stadium. Night sessions at US Open are very famous, most famous in our sport. And I'm going to play my first match here on Monday night. So I can't wait to be under the lights. The noise, the energy of the stadium is just different from anything else. So, I look forward to it.
Howard.
Hi, Novak. Howard Fendrich with the Associated Press. Wanted to ask you, as a top player, as a sort of statesman of the game, somebody involved with the PTPA, and you have big thoughts about the game. I wanted to get your perspective on what happened with Jannik. And some players have wondered aloud whether it's a fair system, whether different rules are applied to different players, and wanted to ask your thoughts on that case.
Well, instances like this are the very reason why we founded PTPA. The ethos of PTPA is the player, is representing 100% the player's rights, and making sure that you can cover every possible corner there is to cover, so that the player is able to not only endure on the tour, but to live out of the sport. And we talked about the depth of the rankings and the players that are able to live out of this sport, and I think that needs to be improved. So there's a lot of topics that are being talked about and being worked on from the PTPA standpoint, and PTPA has not yet been, I think, acknowledged as much as we would like it to be acknowledged in the ecosystem. There are many reasons why, but I'm not going to get into that. And as far as Jannik's case, as I said, these kind of instances are the very reason why we founded PTPA, that is always advocating for fair protocols, clear protocols, for standardized approaches to this kind of cases. And I understand that the frustration of the players is there because of lack of consistency. And as I understood, his case was cleared the moment basically it was announced. But, I think 5 or 6 months passed since the news was brought to him and his team. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of issues in the system. We see lack of standardized and clear protocols. I can understand the sentiments of a lot of players that are questioning whether they are treated the same. And hopefully the governing bodies of our sport will be able to learn from this case and have a better approach for the future. I think collectively there has to be a change. And I think that's obvious. And many players, without naming any of them, I'm sure you know already who these players are, have had similar or pretty much the same cases where they haven't had the same outcome. And now the question is whether it is a case of the funds, whether a player can afford to pay a significant amount of money for a law firm that would then more efficiently represent his or her case. I don't know. Is that the case or not? That's something that we really, I feel like, collectively have to investigate more, look into the system and understand how these cases don't happen. How, meaning not the case itself, but how we can standardize everything so that every player, regardless of his ranking or status or profile, is able to get the same kind of treatment. So yeah, I would say that's probably the overall, I guess, my opinion and observation of this entire case of what we've been reading and observing and talking about the last few days.
We have time for one more in English, Judy.
Hi, Novak. Giddy from Defector Media. I was wondering, at this point of your career, there's not much left on your checklist tennis-wise. So do your matchups against specific players factor into your long-term planning? For example, after Wimbledon, almost immediately you have this huge success against Carlos. So how does that result impact your planning about hanging with these younger talents, the ones you see most likely to pose a challenge in the years to come?
I mean, I've been around for quite a few years, and different generations of players are, kind of switching, and the new players, exciting players coming into the tour. The new rivalries are being created, which I think is important for the tour in general. These kind of rivalries that I have with Yannick and Carlos in particular, of course, along with other guys from the generation before, like Zverev, Medvedev, Tsitsipas, are the kind of matchups that still bring that joy of competition to me and inspire me to really, on a weekly basis when I'm not competing, push myself to perfect the game and to give myself an ability to be able to run for hours with them on the biggest stage. Of course, there's a big age difference, but that's still not, I guess, affecting me in a big way. I feel good about myself, about my game, about where I am and what I have achieved in the last several years. Excuse me. So, but of course, I have to be a bit more selective in my strategy of calendar and how I pick and choose events and where I want to be at my prime and play the best tennis. So when it comes to that, it's Grand Slams and representing my country. That's what actually motivates me the most. That's what drives me the most still. And that's related to the on-court, I guess, competition-driven motivation. But then I have also a lot of things off the court that still, run my juices, and I love being, part of the tennis tour, and BTPA that we talked about is also something that motivates me, that I, have been working on for many years, even before it was founded, and tried always to advocate for players, and even before that in the player council within the ATP structure. So I feel like it's also part of my responsibility as being somebody who has a sound name and a status in sport, and a lot of players look up to me and Federer, Nadal, the legends of the game, and they look for some kind of a guidance, and they carefully listen to our words and actions, and they hope to get that kind of leadership as well. So that's what I personally feel. I always try to balance things out, but I think that I can contribute to certain things in a positive way, and that's why I'm still here.
Okay, let's move to Serb.